Welcome in 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Here for an hour. We got Celtics and Miami Heat tonight here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We got our reaction to the Super Bowl. And it was a bit of a snoozer, but at the same time, I just couldn't stop watching the dumpster fire that it was. Watching the Kansas City Chiefs get destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles last night in the Super Bowl. And well, I get some winners and losers for you. We'll have that coming up in just a little bit. I think some debates are over, or are they? Because there was a lot of talk about debates, and for weeks I've been saying that if the Chiefs won, it actually would be good for the Patriots. I never really thought about if they lost, how much better it would be. So I've come around on that one. So we'll have that for you. And I have some Celtic stuff some people may have forgot, but they had a big win over the New York Knicks this weekend. Might have got buried in all the Super Bowl talk, but a big win over the Knicks. They take on the Miami Heat tonight. Of course, you can call in 617-779-0985. Looking at the Super Bowl last night, Eagles are the champs. The Chiefs were going for history. If you think about it as a historical sense, people were considering them right up there with the New England Patriots. And, well, the Eagles beat one of the teams that was having one of the best runs in NFL history. And luck's been on the side of the Chiefs all year long. It's one of the reasons why I thought in the end it would win this game. But it was talent in the end. A Super Bowl rematch. Two of the best teams in the league meeting once again. But it was the Eagles' talent that completely exploited what the Kansas City Chiefs were doing, both on offense and, of course, defensively. Patrick Mahomes was chased all night long. He was sacked 6 times. He was hit 11 times. He finished 21 of 32 for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, had a strip sack fumble. I mean, the production on his side, it was bad. The Eagles basically won this thing in the first half. They led 34-0 before the Chiefs even crossed midfield last night. And I got a leadoff take for you here, which is brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Leadoff take brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. This thing was over at halftime. Here are some of the numbers at halftime and how dominant the Eagles were in last night's game. The Eagles had more points than the Chiefs had yards in the first half. Kansas City had about 1.2 yards per play and had 1 first down. Travis Kelce was held to 0 receptions for the first time in a postseason half in his career ever. The completion percentage for Patrick Mahomes, 42.9, lower than his pressure rate. This thing was over at halftime. And there's some things I wanted to bring up regarding Philadelphia that I thought was really good. The Eagles didn't need the Philly special. This group was special. At one point, if you think back to the Philadelphia Eagles, they wanted to move on from their head coach, Nick Sirianni. He was reportedly at odds with Jalen Hurts, and he's had some pretty interesting antics towards fans and remarks, and at times they've been unacceptable. Philadelphia started 10-1, but last year they cratered down the stretch. They lost 6 of their final 7 games. They had a 23-point loss to Tampa Bay in the wild card round. This year they started 2-2. This after getting Saquon Barkley and making more additions to their team. But if you think about it, they went 10-1 to start last year. They started this year 2-2, and Kellen Moore took more charge of the offense. And they also, they brought in 2 new coordinators. Last year, they got rid of both of their offensive and defensive coordinator. This year, they bring in Moore and Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive minds in league history. And if you think about it, the team this year, they wanted to get better offensively. Lane Johnson was the one who basically went to the head coach and went to the offensive coordinator and said, we need to run the ball more. The staff listened, and Saquon Barkley took off. So didn't the Eagles. They ripped off 10 straight wins. They won the NFC East title. They looked like Super Bowl contenders. They dropped 55 points in the championship game. Saquon Barkley put together one of the best seasons in league history. Became the 9th player ever to eclipse 2,000 rushing yards. Won Offensive Player of the Year. He surpassed Hall of Famer Terrell Davis for most rushing yards in a single season. That includes the playoffs. He finished with 2,504 yards. Might have been one of the best signings in NFL history. He went from being a Giant, a New York Giant, to a Super Bowl champion. And as for the quarterback, if you guys remember this, it was just 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts sat in a postgame news conference following the loss to the Chiefs, and he kept repeating this phrase, you either win or you learn. Hurts this year finished with a career high in completion percentage. He threw 32 touchdowns. 14 came on the ground. He had 32 overall. He was named Super Bowl MVP. He had 5 incompletions in the game. Had a rushing touchdown, go with 3 total touchdowns. But really, the Eagles won because of their roster management. That's why they won. Howie Roseman has constructed a complete team. I mentioned they could have moved on from Nick Sirianni. Instead, they moved on from both their coordinators. It worked. He had a really tough stretch if you look at it, Nick Sirianni. A lot of pressure. But the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is just the latest reminder that roster building is the key to winning. The Eagles were stacked. And in the biggest game, the Super Bowl, they played like it. You know how many top draft picks and SEC players they have in their team? You know, signing Saquon Barkley at running back and having A.J. Brown you traded for, drafting Devontae Smith, having that offensive line, talent won them this game. Roster building won them the game. And it's just, when you really look at it, that's what wins in this league. And the Chiefs don't get their chief, Pete. Who knows what happens to them? But the Eagles have knocked the Chiefs off the throne. There are new NFL Super Bowl champions. Could this be the start to a new dynasty? The Eagles should be good for a long time. Ownership's behind them. Great GM. Great coaching. Yep, they're going to lose another offensive coordinator, by the way. Kellen Moore supposedly might take the Saints job. It would just be another offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts, but no big deal. They keep flushing out offensive coordinators, but Jalen Hurts has just given Philadelphia another Super Bowl. Could this be the start to a new dynasty? We'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. I do want to get into some winners and losers from the Super Bowl. You can join us on YouTube as well. Enjoying the chat. We're taking you up until 7 o'clock tonight. Then we'll hand things over to Grandy and Max. It's Celtics and Heat tonight. I'm looking forward to the injury report. Not sure if what we have yet. Any updates on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? We'll find out. We'll have it for you on the other side. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere.
wanted to just think back to the Eagles, right? They were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They lost. It was a close game. And I do remember Jalen Hurts taking it really well. He goes, you either win or you learn. Like, he owned it. I remember him. He wasn't sulking. He was, I think, still in his gear. And I specifically remember this. You either win or you learn. And when I think about Jalen Hurts' career, standout at Alabama, right? But in his last year at Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa was, this phenom. And Hurts got them basically to the championship game. Tua did play and did show promise. But in the championship game, they went with Hurts because he was the veteran. He struggled. I think he was dominating the game. They made the switch. Tua caught fire. Boom, had the game-winning throw for the touchdown. From there, he went to Oklahoma, and he really learned how to throw the football around. Right? I believe he played with Hollywood Brown. I think that setback for him really helped him. And, when he says you either win or you learn, it resonates. I mean, this guy was a second-round pick, and if we'll go back to that draft in a minute here, but, just a couple of years ago, he was, they won 10 games in a row, and then they faltered. They went to the Super Bowl. Last year, they had that big year and then just crumbled at the end of the year. And they got rid of both coordinators. Vic Fangio comes in on defense to work with all that young talent that they drafted. But Hurts was still consistent. But he was going at it with Sirianni at times. I mean, there was talks about him moving on, or them moving on from him. It wasn't Sirianni's choice, by the way, to bring in Kellen Moore and Fangio. That was Roseman. Hey, you want this job, you got to bring in new guys. So just think about this real quick. And I want to bring Skaz in on it because we were talking about this off the air. But, when Hurts was at Alabama, how many different offensive coordinators went through there, right? Whether it was Lane Kiffin, whether it was, I think, Bill O'Brien at the time. I'm trying to remember if it was Bill O'Brien or who was before that. But there were changing offensive coordinators constantly, or Sarkisian. They were always changing. But they would adapt, right? Jalen Hurts could adapt. He leaves, goes to Oklahoma. He's got, was it Lincoln Riley? And I don't even know who was at the helm at the time at offense coordinator. But, guys, you look this up. Since college, how many different offensive coordinators has Jalen Hurts had?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has had 8 offensive coordinators in his last 9 seasons of football.
And he's going to have another one if Kellen Moore takes the Saints job.
Which it sounds like he already has. So the only coordinator he's had for more than 1 year was Shane Steichen in 21 and 22.
And both of those, he got the head coaching job in Indy, right? And then the other coordinator went to the Cardinals, defensive side.
Yes.
Wow. It's just, think about it. This guy, let's go back. Let's do it. The 2020 NFL draft class. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts in the second round. Burrow's been there and clearly, when healthy, he's an MVP candidate. He was this year. Tua can get you to the playoffs, but if he goes to a cold climate or, I don't know, gets injured again, the Jordan Love thing's still out there. I think he had an injury earlier this year. They just stayed afloat. I think Green Bay is due for a comeback this year, and I think that the Lions take a little bit of a step back. So I'm not out on Jordan Love yet. The Herbert thing, though, how's his stock look right now after the playoff game? Right? It's sinking. But there you are, Jalen Hurts, right? Plays as a backup, gets the starting role, goes to the Super Bowl, gets out to a 10-1 record a year ago. Things fell apart. This year they give him Kellen Moore. Goes on a big run. They support him with Saquon Barkley. The guy's a player. He's a fantastic football player. He's a damn good quarterback, too. And that's a hell of a draft class if you look at it. I don't know what Herbert will do. Maybe Harbaugh can work with him, right? I don't know what Tua is, but at least when Tua plays, the teams are good, right? We at least have to admit that. When he plays, they're good. And Jordan Love's still, but I would have never thought the first guy to win a championship would have been Jalen Hurts, guys. And I give him a lot of props for working with all of those different coordinators and adapting and adjusting. And when I heard that quote from him losing the Super Bowl, you either win or you learn, he certainly learned.
Yeah, and I do think Jalen Hurts deserves a lot of credit. He's a guy that's been kind of overlooked at times, but for me, what really stood out was the Eagles, just as a whole, their talent as a whole, their roster. It's just far and away the best roster in the league. And like you said, Hurts is a second-round pick. Like, they built it from the ground up. They built it in the trenches. They had the best offensive line in football. They've had the best offensive line in football, at least parts of that group for the last, 5-ish years. And you just look all over the field, everywhere. They have talent. They have talent, running back, wide receiver, corners, linebackers, everywhere. That is a stacked roster.
Dude, they got rid of their Bradbury and their corners and literally just replaced them with rookies.
They found Zach Baum, too, who's been incredible since they
Great
found
interception
him.
Last night. That was him, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very good interception.
That was a bad throw by Mahomes. Great individual play on defense.
Absolutely. So for me, when you're looking at it from a Patriots perspective, you want to say like, oh, well, we have the guy. We have Drake May. And I saw Lifshats, we had this in Slack earlier today, was tweeting like, look at the composition of the roster and how the Eagles got there. Like, their talent compared to what the Patriots' talent is right now is they're not even playing the same sport. So it really is. Like,
by the way, let's give Lifshats some credit.
He was all over it.
Said the Eagles would win in a blowout.
He did. I was looking at some alt lines because of that. But that's what it comes back to for me is the Jalen Hurts thing. He's a very good quarterback. Do I think he's as good as Joe Burrow? I would still say probably not, just from my playing quarterback perspective.
Yep.
But the roster the Eagles had, how they built it, Howie Roseman deserves a ton of credit. Like Jeffrey Lurie lets them spend money. They spend top 5 every year. I was reading they're always up there. So from a Patriots perspective, because that's what we do here, they are a long ways away. And even if you think Drake May is the guy, even if you think Drake May is special, he's the next Patrick Mahomes, that level of quarterback, you still need a lot more than that. It's going to take a total roster overhaul, drafting, trades. Like the Eagles get A.J. Brown. They draft some of these guys, Devontae Smith. So it was I happy the Eagles won? Absolutely. But just that little reminder of how far away the Patriots are. They're really far away.
And listen, the Chiefs are a really good team too, with a quarterback, right? But where did they lose? In the trenches.
They got destroyed in the trenches.
And it was their weakness.
And
right?
honestly, I thought their defensive line was all right. Like, Saquon was contained for the most part. If you told Eagles fans that Saquon was going to have 25 rushes for 60 yards or whatever it was, they would have been like, oh, well, we lost the game.
Yeah, and they built around Chris Jones. I mean, Karlaftis and other guys. Like, you look at it, I don't want to discredit the Chiefs.
McDuffie's a great player.
They have a lot of young, up-and-coming talent that's going to get paid really soon. And that's the discussion with the Chiefs is, are they going to be able to pay all these guys while the Eagles just draft the next guy and they leverage it against you? Bradbury can be there. All right, Brad, see you later, buddy. We'll just bring in Cooper DeJean, right? Or draft Quinion from Toledo, right? They got guys from Toledo making big plays for them. They just draft the next guy. Imagine. And you're right. To your point on Hurts, the line, the running game, the wide receivers, right? Jalen Hurts doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. He just has to be Jalen Hurts. And it works. It works for them. The tush push, by the way, it worked last night. It's a thing that works for them. Again, I would rather that over the Philly special, by the way. But we did learn that Philly is very special. Let me give you some winners and losers really quick. Jalen Hurts, I thought, was a big winner. I just kind of went over everything for him. He already got his big contract. I don't know what's going to happen after that. Vic Fangio, 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes. His defense last night. The Eagles were 26th in yards allowed last year. They were number 1 in the NFL this year. We mentioned DeJean, Quinion Mitchell. Right, great rookies. The dude Bond, as you mentioned, was an off-season addition. Jalen Carter finally played like Jalen Carter, right? But they hit him all week long, and it was smart. He dominated. They dominated the Chiefs' shaky offensive line. The other big winner of the night, Tom Brady. Didn't even play in the Super Bowl and won last night. Now, do I think he was great on the broadcast? Nah. But he's winning at life in that area, making all that money. I don't care. But it was great that, in a way, guys, for me, watching Mahomes collapse and get sacked constantly and really just get their asses kicked, I don't know how else to say it. I felt like Brady, at times, you ever watch The Office when Jim is just watching through the blinds and everything's just going wrong? That's what it felt like for me, is Brady's just watching it all happen. The Office was all I could go with it, just watching it through the blinds, watching Dwight struggle constantly. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. He got to watch it all happen. Maybe he just needs to be there, and it's a problem for Patrick Mahomes. Should be interesting when the Raiders and Chiefs meet, huh? That should be very interesting there. Losers of the night. Maybe it's tasteless on my part, but I thought Drake was a big loser on the night. And some people might be uncultured, Skaz, but Kendrick Lamar did the halftime show. It was great. I liked it.
I thought it was good, not great.
Do I think it was a great halftime show? No. But am I hip enough to know about Kendrick Lamar? And do I know his songs? And did he win all the awards at the Grammys and was the best this? But yes. So, he's as mainstream to me as possible. He's also a protege of Dr. Dre. So, I've known about this guy for a long time. But maybe some people don't read the tabloids, They don't know about maybe Drake and the A minor and all that stuff. Maybe they don't know that part.
You like the necklace, Joe?
I loved that was good. And then, watching Serena Williams dancing, doing the crip walk. They not like us. They not like us. That all happened. It was real. So if you don't get the Serena Drake angle either, you're just, I don't want to say uncultured, but you're not in the know. You're not in the know. I enjoyed it, Skaz, actually. I thought it was very petty. I thought it was very petty.
Yeah, if you're a fan of pettiness, as Kendrick Lamar is, and we've talked about Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler having their petty wars, it was good in that aspect. I like Kendrick, but I almost wanted more from Kendrick. I thought the show he put on was good, the songs were good, but it's a Super Bowl halftime show. I guess I was just expecting a little bit more. And you say Drake's a big loser. I think that is probably the consensus going around, on the internet and in the media. But his whole thing right now is Drake. So I guess, that kind of angle of it from Drake's perspective is dude, you're the biggest you've ever been, and it's solely because of me. So maybe he takes some solace in that. But the overall thing, I thought it was good. SZA, obviously, very good.
Yep.
Serena, the backstory there, if you don't know about it.
And what happened with her sister? Wasn't there the dance? I thought they wouldn't let her do it at Wimbledon or something.
So she did it very briefly at Wimbledon and got some shtick for
so
it.
Instead she got to do it at the Super Bowl.
So she got to do it at the Super Bowl. Yeah, she's from Compton. Kendrick's from Compton. Yep. So the Samuel L. thing was whatever to me.
I didn't need that.
Yeah.
I didn't need that. Anyways, you probably didn't hear that anywhere else today. So I just wanted to in case you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, I'm not going to act like it was Maroon 5. It was nowhere near that bad.
That.
No,
it was
I thought
not
it
Black
was
Eyed Peas. No, that was bad.
Yeah, it was good. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, I kind of needed somebody else that maybe you could like Dr. Dre.
He was just there.
Yeah. I could have used it. All right, maybe somebody bigger. I don't know. You know what, though? I want to start. We have to look. I'm going to look this up during the break, but if you had odds for the halftime show next year, who'd be at the top of your list right now? I got one name, man.
Oh, boy.
Dua Lipa.
I think she's almost too big for it. Internationally.
Watch me dance.
She seems like fun, though. She would probably do it.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. We had fun. Oh, Patrick Mahomes was a loser last night, too. But, you know.
Joe, on that, are you a point differential guy?
Yeah, sure.
Patrick Mahomes has played in 5 Super Bowls. Would you like to guess his point differential in those 5 Super Bowls?
Well, it's not good when Tom Brady's there. It's not. I know it's not good because in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, they had 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes' total point differential is a negative 23.
Yeah. My Harrison Butker 1 field goal. Just one. Just 1 field goal. I did bet 2-point conversion, though, and it happened 3 times, so.
Harrison Butker, tough night for that guy, you know? Tough night. What a shame.
Tough year for the kickers.
What a shame.
It's been a tough.
Hey, Jake Elliott was good last night.
You know what? For a guy who we're
a little question marks at the end of the game.
Trashing him all over. Wow, the last 3 preseasons, Jalen Hurts is 9-1 with 10 rushing touchdowns. That's not bad, huh? He just needs to be Jalen Hurts. He doesn't. I want to get into the Patriots here on the other side, but like the number 4 picks up there, and like I watch these teams and I say, man, you gotta go either offense or defensive line. Right? We'll get into that coming up here on the other side. I'm Joe Mario. Let's get to the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Oh my God. Is that true? Is this real?
Joe, I've been waiting all day for this moment because I had a feeling you had not heard this yet.
Have they been playing this all day?
Yes.
What, Celsius is the sponsor of the headlines?
You are correct.
Are they listening? Have they been listening? Have you not seen me drinking these for like years? Am I gonna get paid for this? Do I get more Celsius? Holy smokes. I don't think anyone knows how much I love Celsius. And now they're a sponsor? It's incredible. I don't even care about the headlines. No, I do. Eagles Super Bowl champions. Jalen Hurts went to Disneyland today. People were saying if they were betting on a halftime show for next year, Post Malone checks all the boxes. And then everyone's bets went through last night. So I'm glad everybody won their bets. I just happened to dabble during the break to find out who the odds are next year. The favorite right now is Taylor Swift, followed by Drake, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish, Justin Bieber, Lil Wayne, and Miley Cyrus. Now, it is in San Francisco next year. So I would always make my pitch for Metallica. It would make a lot of sense. Metallica, San Francisco. Maybe you could bring the orchestra again, like you did the album. Anyways, my pitch next year, Metallica, San Francisco. The Patriots, how does everything from Super Bowl Sunday relate to the Patriots? Well, this weekend, Robert Kraft talked to, I believe it was Chad Graff, The Athletic. And he spoke up with him, and he asked about the McDaniels hire. When we interviewed Mike and asked whom he might be interested in bringing in, without pause, the first one he mentioned was Josh McDaniels. He thought it would be something very special for Drake May. This is what Kraft told Chad Graff. Their experience and chemistry together is positive. I think it was a good development. From every way you look at it, I think it's a win-win. It was his decision. Josh was very excited. Hope he gets the fruits of the potential positives out of that. He has a pretty good history of developing and dealing with good quarterbacks and developing on offense that can really produce. So that's from Robert Kraft, everybody. So whether you believe it or not, Kraft says it was Mike Vrabel's first thought. The Patriots have $123 million in cap space next year. They have the highest amount remaining or entering free agency. So again, Kraft confirmed it was Vrabel's decision. I know a bunch of Patriots insiders have reported it as well. He also admitted it was something he would have liked as well, so I just wanted to throw that in there. Drake May also reportedly rooting for McDaniels to get the hire. So I don't know if it will convince me, but whatever. Now that's behind us. The Chiefs and Eagles built through the draft. They can spend all the money they want this offseason, but long-term success should be the Patriots' goal. It starts with the draft. They can't screw this thing up. And watching what the Eagles have done and what the Chiefs, where they had their issues, I still think it's offensive line. I think they need to look offensive line. I can't get off it. If Abdul Carter's there, sure, in. Travis Hunter's there, I might have to look at it. Because I do think that they're just top talents. But offensive line. They need young, promising offensive linemen. Defensive linemen, for that matter, too. So if it was Mason Graham, he's probably the best offensive lineman available. Build through the trenches. That's my biggest takeaway from the Super Bowl. The Patriots have to build through the trenches. And again, they'll spend money. Like when you spend money in free agency on offensive linemen, does it always work? Like, doesn't the player in the end get the better of the deal? It's just, as much as there'll be guys available, I prefer to see it through the draft. Let's talk to PJ. He's in Lowell. What's up, PJ?
Oh, hey.
Oh.
Yeah. So I feel like you watch them score.
Who's them? That was a tough call. Tough call. You watch them win, right? Was that what he said? You watch them score? Who? The Eagles? Wonder what they're going to do at offensive coordinator now if Kellen Moore moves on. Hey, they said let's run it back, though, so we'll see if Philly can hang on to Kellen Moore. I got some Celtics stuff. They had a big win over the weekend. They take on the Heat tonight. I'll tell you who's in and who's out. We'll do that next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub. It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
If you're the Knicks, it all comes crashing down. Like, you are now reminded once again that you are just not on the same level and you have a long ways to go.
Scalabrini after the Celtics win the other night in New York. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, or if you did, the Celtics absolutely rolled the New York Knicks. Now, it did get down to 5 points, and then the Celtics went on a 45-20 run. I thought Karl Anthony Towns was bad. Jalen Brunson plays no defense and just bumps into people all the time. And by the way, Bridges, sorry, nothing on Jason Tatum. And I'm not... Listen, there's been a lot of question marks regarding the funk that the Celtics have been in. But when it comes to taking on some of the better teams in the league this year, they're good, and they take care of business. Let me give you some of these numbers here. Against good teams, Knicks, Bucks, Cavs this season, the Celtics are 7-1. They're 7-1. So, yeah, they might have some hiccups here and there, right? Every time they've been on a road trip, they return home, they lose. I just think that when they take on New York, or they take on the Bucks, or they take on the Cavs, like they beat the Cavs last week, like they just beat the Knicks, like they always do against the Bucks, they take care of business. Now, you'd wish that they would do it a lot more often, but at this point, they're resting Drew Holiday, who's out again tonight. They're resting Jaylen Brown, who's not playing tonight, and I believe Torrey Craig's still not playing yet, who they got. So they have one more roster spot to fill. I don't know what they're going to do. They could just guarantee Drew Peterson's contract. But tonight, though, I got a couple of notes on Miami. They're an underdog tonight. They're 5-point underdogs. Now, normally I don't like betting a favorite at 5, but the Celtics have been somewhat hit or miss. But Miami has not been good as a home underdog. They're 0-12 since the start of June of 2023 as a home dog, or 3 points or less, or even with 3 days off. So I know it's 5, but still, home underdog, not good. I lean the Celtics tonight, but they are without Jaylen Brown. I know they like to play in Miami. I know they like to go out in Miami after. And it is the new look Heat now without Jimmy Butler. And we'll see, I believe, Andrew Wiggins in some of the new additions for the Miami Heat tonight. So I just wanted to at least bring that up. Although we're in this Super Bowl haze and the Eagles winning and what's next for the Patriots, now. And I know the Bruins are off. We get the Four Nations starting up on Wednesday. Like, it's starting to take a good look now at the Celtics. They come up on their All-Star break against the good teams this year. They win. They're 7-1. And the team that I've been consistently on that gives me the most trouble, or gives me the most trouble for the Celtics, it's Indiana. That's still the one team. So when it comes to the East, it's still the Celtics. Everyone's chasing them. That's why the West made so many moves at the deadline. All right, that's it. I'll be here pregame, halftime, postgame till 11. We'll hand things over to Grandy and Max. Celtics